Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Cuscopia's Cogitations, because landing an alliteration is much important than using pretty words. So this topic is a pretty awkward one. I'm gonna go ham on a very successful game, or rather a very successful genre that is being employed by a very successful game, as you've seen in the title of the video. I'm going to be talking about battle royales and the terrible reasons why they're successful. Battle royale games have been making the rounds for quite a while in a lot of different iterations. But when player-announced Battlegrounds came out, they really blew into the industry. And with Fortnite, they took over the industry. The clones and iterations have only just begun, I believe. Like with WoW-like MMOs and the Dota-like MOBAs. If they are any indication, we are in for at least 3-5 years of the Battle Royale genre dominating the space as the genre of game to emulate and improve upon to try and steal the original thunder, all while never stealing the original thunder. WoW is still the biggest, Dota and League are still the biggest, yeah. But it has been a crazy year as far as numbers are concerned, and while this genre has yet to really be picked up outside of the Western market, it is no doubt an insanely successful formula. I am going to argue that the reasons for that success are a terrible indictment of the games themselves, but mostly of the player base. Much like the success of certain enhanced interrogation strategies, one has a really hard time to say the success is warranted or healthy in any way whatsoever for the industry or the player base, unless you stick to one reason and one reason only. It's fun. The games are not torture. not an enhanced interrogation shit. The games are fun, you have fun with them. Or at least that is what they want us to think. That's what we're led to say and what we're led to believe. That is the great illusion I will debate. That's how we perceive the dopamine spikes that we get from playing this particular genre of shooters or action shooters. And that should be a familiar term, dopamine spike. If you watch my previous video about loot boxes, you will have heard this term, and that is because we will again be talking about random number generators, which always lend themselves to bringing about the topic of discussion that is the greatest of all natural vices, chance. I will argue how these games, Fortnite in particular, have almost nothing of note to them. I will argue that their success has very little to do with the game itself and all the disciplines involved in making it, but rather with how easily it lends itself to give players a sense of victory that is not earned and thus real. That is not, it's not real, It feels real, but it's not. Like, I can't think of an example. I don't know, the love of your parents. Games have, since a long time now, been able to give player badges and tags and even, let's just keep going, and even ranks so long as they have money to spend. But with bundle royales, notice the Freudian slip that I did there, battle royales, a player can actually get killed, get skilled. My mind is all, what do I want to say? I'm wrapping up the introduction. I'm talking about, right. So, games have always been able to give players badges and tags and even ranks, so long as you have money to spend. A lot of games also give you the ability to pay to win, right? But with battle royales, a player can actually get skilled victories, even when they don't have skill, and which is way better than giving them victories for money. These games, these battle royales, provide this kind of experience at a very high rate. And at the same time, it also minimizes the impact of defeat and loss. in a way that no other type of video game has ever been able to do, to my recollection. And likewise, with the example of pay to win, if you're paying to win and you lose, that feels terrible. Like you gotta have really bad skill, and it can happen if skill matters at all in those games, but it doesn't in these. So that's what I'm gonna argue. Let's get to it, shall we? Let's get into let's get down and dirty with an analogy, because you know I love analogies. And this analogy features little Timmy. Little Timmy got a math class. He was in a math class even though he had never studied. Now, not being the least bit prepared to solve a problem, he was still called to the board to solve a math problem. And he gets there and starts sweating. He doesn't know how to do that. He can't solve math problems. This is hard. He didn't practice. So what does he do? Does he suffer the humiliation of saying, I don't know what to do? No. He gets a glimpse of genius. And he erases the problem off the board. And then announces, problem solved. The class laughs, the teacher laughs, the principal shows up and high-fives the student and gives him the diploma. Glorious success. This is an analogy to how PUBG came up with the utter genius answers to the greatest problems that Battle Royale games had and were struggling with. To start with, let's talk about arguably the biggest challenge of a Battle Royale game, which is the very beginning. Spawn locations, how to start a damn Battle Royale match. Here's the problem. You need to spawn 100 players into a match. First things first, they can't overlap. Secondly, they can't be too close to one another or too far away. Thirdly, some players will leave while the match is starting and you need to compensate. Figuring out the level design and the rules to handle all of this so that it provides a good experience is very tough. And indeed, no game really succeeded at it. And that was when they were trying to make it work for just 10 or 20 players. Now, by dropping the players from the sky, well, not even that, by allowing the players to drop from the sky at any point across a random route, PUBG completely extricated itself from having to figure that problem out. Whoever wants to spawn with a lot of people can, and whoever wants to be isolated can. If someone leaves, the character is just automatically dropped and left to die. The encircling area comes from the movies and is another problem. Originally, you would be thinking about spawn points under the constraint of the area that would be shrinking. In PUBG, and that goes for the level design. In PUBG, though, that ever-shrinking encirclement suffers from the same quick-fix, mindless answer that every other question suffers from. It is the answer I have seen in almost every game of this type, no matter the question. Random formula. A little bit controlled. Let's quickly go over it all in a kind of detailed way, but still quickly. So the circles appear at random points, and each one randomly placed. So each circle is randomly placed inside the bigger circle. Level design, random generation of weapons and items, which means random stats and characteristics for yourself and for your match. A completely static map. Depending on the game, the map will be more or less inspired, but it's never something any level designer has to worry about at all when it comes to balancing, difficulty, progression, and so on. And random spawn points that feel less random because it's by player choice. The only real challenge I see in terms of involving actual work and thinking is in making sure that the random generation is a bit controlled, that the weapons and items are always generated enough for a decent round. That wasn't really good phrasing, but let's push on. That you don't just go with nothing in that 0.1% chance, because that would be a bad video. Outside of that, though, 100 players starting at random locations, random items, which means random player stats, random rules of space in the shape of shrinking available areas. All this making for utterly random encounters. Now let's go on with the analogy. That kid, little Timmy, grabbed a diploma and decided to sell it. make a quick buck out of it, because there's no time to waste trying to figure out how to use the freaking diploma, you know? But then, all of a sudden, he couldn't enroll in school anymore because he had already gotten out. But neither did he have the diploma. And that meant that pretty soon he'll be out on the street asking for money. That's what he gets for worrying about loot boxes and fixing bugs, isn't it? Remember, that kid is PUBG. I am talking about PUBG and the fact that they didn't care about the quality of their game as much as they cared about how to get money. Meanwhile, sorry, loot boxes make me crazy. Meanwhile, another kid heard of what little Timmy did. You know, and this kid, let's call it young Mr. Fortnite, replicated it in his own school. He raised the board, problem solved, laughter, diplomas, you know. But young Mr. Fortnite, though, did not squander the diploma. Oh no, he's doing well. Because, here's the thing, not only does there is a reason he knows how to use the diploma, is because he's actually a good student. And here's how Fortnite all but cemented how utterly low effort the Battle Royale design and the strategy in general is. In this analogy, young Mr. Fortnite is actually already a good student with good grades, but he wanted all A's, so he decided to just do so much less to get those A's. Fortnite was a different game, remember? It's originally a tower defender, and it still is. Someone there, you know, in their company, had the idea to hack together a Battle Royale mode, and that changed the face of the industry for the foreseeable future. Their map is largely just empty because of the building mechanic that the game already had. What game design Fortnite has, it was done for a tower defender and shooter. It's proper and real mode that you need to pay for, you know. Tower defenders, shooters, tower shooter defenders are a genre that occupied a bit of prominence between 2010 2012, I believe. Funny tidbit, it was around that time that Fortnite started being developed. So this is basically a game that was going on a trend, took too long to develop, and then once it was released, the trend was over, so it wasn't that successful, so it hacked another trend into it. It's genius. Genius game producing. How could you even have these ideas? They're crazy. It's just sparks of genius. Anyway, everything that has made Fortnite a success required zero effort whatsoever. Because everything that actually took effort, creativity, love, passion, etc., that made Fortnite is the tower defender. All of the tower defender stuff. It's nothing of it is to do with the Battle Royale, except for maybe the skins and emotes and all of that stuff. Oh, and obviously the technical aspects of it. You cannot undersell what a technical challenge it is. You can't underestimate having 100 people in the same gigantic map shooting at each other. You know, you really can't. That's, you know, PUBG had a lot of problems in that respect. But Fortnite is pretty solid, and these other games are also coming out pretty solid. But as far as design goes, game design, level design, and all of that stuff, and the fact that it takes nothing is exactly why it's the hot new thing, and everyone is doing it. Because it's so fast and it's so easy. It's nothing. It's literally nothing. You can reskin games at the drop of a hat to do this stuff. You know, Battlefield, Call of Duty, Battle Royale, Dead by Daylight, the least, I mean, all these 4 games were announced in the last 3 months. You know, in Fortnite, I think it's, 5 months? It's crazy, you know. Everyone is doing it. I mean, I would be surprised if the next Assassin's Creed wouldn't have kind of a Battle Royale feature, and that's if the current one doesn't get one patched into it. But the thing is, and this is going to be my next point, because number one, it's got nothing but RNG, random number generation. And RNG, this is going to be my next point, does not make for good game design. So let's talk about that. RNG has historically been added to games or used to simulate the luck factor, the experience of chance, to put the player in a situation where they need to make a decision based on unexpected and impossible to perceive variables. And so they either get a tragic result or a fortune favors the bold result that feels good. I took the chance. Yes. Yes, go! Character name, yes. A clear example of this is critical hit chance in MOBAs and RPGs. This is a chance that an attack will hit for extra damage, sometimes for a lot of extra damage. When a player is put in a position where they can either spend the next 10 minutes healing their character, in one of those situations where I have 400 HP, he hits me for 300 and I can heal for 400. So it's like, heal. It's kind of annoying. But you can also not do that and instead risk it all on one attack that can critically hit and win the fight, or not and lose the fight. There's also the pleasant surprise of an unexpected critical hit that makes the fight easier from the get-go. You're like playing along, imagining a huge fight, and you get a critical hit. It's like, hold on, this actually changes everything. Now it's way easier. So contrary to what people might think, solid game design would never give you a completely random critical hit. It's always controlled, because it's the nature of probability that one person, if not many more, will never experience a critical hit and will thus have a terrible time, and others will always get the critical hit and feel no challenge. These outliers are acceptable to battle royale games because of the new tendency of making games for the majority and not for everyone who plays them. That's the new thing today, because marketing already guarantees a base number of player base. That's the thing. The laws of probability, if you will, dictate that those two groups of unlucky individuals will be very, very minuscule. So again, when developers are guaranteed a large player base to start with, it's easier to start feeling lucky and just go like, screw it. It's way more cost effective to let that minuscule percentage burn. Now, taking a gamble is exactly what it sounds like, right? When it pans out, it really stabs at your pleasure center. Even though it has nothing to do with our skill, timing, smarts, or any other quality that is specific to our person, it still happened only because we went for it, so we feel like winners. On the other hand, when we lose, even though there might be frustration, it is not personal, It is not because of us. It is a failure, sure, but it is not our failure. Like the weather deciding to rain on our picnic. It can be frustrating and everything else, but it's not our fault. We don't control the weather. We're not... We don't control the weather. We're not the Illuminati, right? If the consequences are the same, losing a game of chance feels not as bad as losing because of lack of skill, hesitation, etc. And this takes me to why Fortnite Battle Royale is so successful with such a large player base, despite, as I have claimed, not having any actual game design behind its decisions, except for the one strategy that is not good game design, which is RNG. And that is mainly because of the false perception of success. I've been hinting upon this a lot. So it's funny, really. Because many across the times, across the last decades, have said that games are meaningless. Like winning in a game, especially if it's one being rendered on the screen for some reason that has always been worse than board games or cards games and stuff. But yeah. It's been said that it has no real consequence in one's life. It doesn't mean anything that you beat a boss or you beat someone else in a competitive environment. I always thought that point was stupid. First by instinct, later due to what I learned about game theory. Every mental skill one applies to a video game is necessary and well used in real life games, like relationships, a myriad of jobs, casinos, And private challenges, sports, the ability to grind, to focus and concentrate, and to deal with obstacles and losses. Oh, scratch that. When it comes to these battle royales, I can very hardly argue with that point. In fact, I can even go farther and say winning at these games might even do more harm to the player's psyche. The reality is that because of all the random focused game design decisions, the control that a player has over a game session is scarcely dictated by any combination of the qualities that are specific to them as players, as people. Especially in the way most people play these games, which is to dive straight into a crowd. Most often, they got a kill because they caught someone else by surprise, by just running around, and because they're fighting someone else. Most often, the player will die because it's their turn to be that person. Most often, the player got a kill because they were lucky on the items that they had the opportunity to get. Most often, they get killed because they're barefisted and the other player had a gun. This means that most often, when a player gets killed, as much as they might be frustrated, they were just unlucky, really. Fate has rained on their parade, but it's not them. The nature of playing the game that way is that they last very little time. Like playing a mobile game while we're in the bathroom, we can rush through 20 sessions in 1 hour, and we'll only really remember that one session where we got a bunch of kills and won't even realize that was because we were lucky. That's the nature of people in multiplayer games. It's a meme in a lot of circles to say unlucky when they actually mean that they made a mistake, and laugh at people calling us lucker because we clearly outplay them. But in Battle Royales, those claims are actually accurate. And they are accurate to a scary degree. One would think that the most skilled players would just often be able to outplay, but that is not the situation. As far as I can tell, the situation is this. A vast minority of extremely skilled players will rarely get out of the situation by their own skill and nothing but. A vast majority of regular players will never get out of a situation by their own skill and nothing but. While this situation is not singularly applicable to battle royales, it is the genre of game where people feel it the less. By far. A player feels not bad at all on the vast majority of their losses because they were just unlucky. And that is the fact. It's not just a joke. It's the fact. So they play for longer. Because a player sees most victories as their wins, just like a gambler with wins on slot machines, they feel good. And the nature of the game provides every player, regardless of skill, with a win. Not that rarely. I compare it to being able to play slot machines at no cost. One can just mindlessly continue until they win, and they won't win that rarely. Yeah. And what does this create? It creates the very first gaming experience that is not just easy to pick up, but that it's easy to do well on. Enter the celebrities. Sports professionals, artists, musicians, and so forth. These are people who dedicate every day to being successful in their profession and will does not do well in competitive online games. At all. This is not to say they won't enjoy gaming. The great Jim Lee and Patrick Rothfuss as well. They're two great artists that have been known to stream their gaming experiences and shown to find great joy in video games. Fair enough. But they don't generate great clips, great plays, or great highlights. Especially if they are to play with a real good video game or with a really good streamer. No game allows for such a clean marketing stunt like Fortnite and its cousins, past and future. Any streamer can book a 4-hour session with any celebrity and they will have fun, real. Like they will do well enough in the game that they don't feel humiliated or completely out of their element, despite never really playing the game. This has allowed for the rise of the most popular streamers in history, even if that history is not even a decade old, as they can bring these celebrities on and, with them, a whole slew of new people to the game. The key to that working so well is having the celebrities actually winning and performing, because it makes them comfortable and entertained. That sincere enjoyment comes through very clearly to all their fans, and that's the best kind of marketing you could wish for a video game, really. You know, it's someone who's idolized by hundreds of thousands to really like something that you own and sell. I have a hard time. I really do, you know, because all of these reasons and that particularity has nothing to do with the game itself. It has nothing to do with game decisions. It has nothing to do with the game itself. You know, that is why I have a hard time respecting this approach to a game product. And I can sincerely say it's pretty much the first time I've ever thought that about a video game. I can't think of another. There is nothing about it that is notable or good or creative. And that's why it succeeds. You know, it's worse than a clone. And Fortnite is already a clone. We're getting clones of that, you know. The base concept is worse than a clone, and we're getting clones of that. It's, whew. Battle Royales give the opportunity to people who don't like video games to play games of chance and have fun. It's quite the amazing trick that I don't even know the authors and designers are aware of, but it's an integral part of making it such a marketing golden egg and why it's so successful. In conclusion, the reasons for the massive success of Fortnite, as I see them, are as follow. Luck balancing everything, even skills, injects the gaming experience with gambling-like bursts of dopamine. What weapons we find in a house, what people we catch off guard, all these games of chance masquerading as strategy and skill. Celebrity streams with celebrities actually getting enjoyment out of the game due to the previous reason. Bug-free when compared to its sensei, PUBG, the student became the master by not being blinded by greed and corruption. Loot boxes. Uses projectile instead of hit scans, which is a very specific advantage that I will quickly elaborate. While it's theoretically harder to aim projectile shots, it is not the case in practice. It's easier to correct your aim with projectiles, and it is easier to dodge them as well. And there is a degree of separation between the player and his aim, because the distance and a lot of variables are now a factor. That all makes it more forgiving for the player, more luck-based when they lose, but of course very skill-based when they win. It always feels like they triumph over probability and hardship when the projectile hits the mark. Holy crap! Headshot! You know, these are the reasons for the success of Fortnite and Battle Royale in general, as I see them. And you will note, and as I have, that they have nothing to do with game concepts or even ideas. Content is purely cosmetic. And I don't use purely sarcastic as if to mean insignificant or without value. I use it to emphasize it really is the only thing the game developers create. It's the dances, the skins, and all of that. Because, I mean, all the stats don't need to be balanced that much since there is so much random number generation going on. For example, they introduced the God weapon to market to the Avengers movie Infinity War. And there are plenty of clips of these God characters still dying and losing despite having all this ultimate power. You know, being, you know, everything except for invincible, they get defeated because it's so random. It is really a powerful factor. When I compare this to other games that have come in the past, you know, when I look at other games in comparison to this, it's just, I mean, for example, PlanetSide 2 particularly, that's the one I played. And it's an MMO shooter, massive online shooter. And they design entire continents, bases of different sizes and architecture. They have classes and immense armament, and they need to balance everything. On one end of the spectrum of this game, you've got MOBAs and RPGs and RTSs, you know, where we don't even have to mention the litany of game design and math that goes into those. Very complex stuff. On the other end of the spectrum, you got less stat-heavy games like shooters, pure shooters, Counter-Strike, Unreal Tournament, Doom, you know, all of them designing weapons and levels to a degree of specificity that resembles high-level architecture, trying to guarantee a good experience for their players. Even Tetris has more thought and effort and creativity put into its design in these games, more technique for sure, Any board game, any card game, even Uno, freaking Uno, I would argue, requires more complexity, creativity, for sure. I don't know. I think so. Maybe it's not like I think so. I'll stick with that. Uno is more complex. Meanwhile, these guys are doing all of this stuff. Meanwhile, Battle Royale erased the chalkboard and laughing stumbled upon a way to not make bad experiences felt by players. They are the ones happening the most often. Unfair and poorly designed as the game really is, but this is acceptable to the player in such a way that there is no real sense of defeat. That was the masterful decision made by this new genre of video games. So, to conclude my conclusion, the reason why Battle Royales, it's even a tongue twister, the stupid name. The reason why Battle Royales are successful is because it is a massively multiplayer competitive experience that has taken punishment out of defeat and made luck feel like victory. And I, personally, think that's a terrible reason for a game to be successful. I worry about the consequences this success will have in the next 5 to 10 years. Having said all that, I like the concept of a Battle Royale. I think it's great, and I'll keep trying them. Especially so long as they're free. But hopefully, I really hope that games will come out which have been properly designed, that with effort put into them, that people have put effort and creativity into. And I hope they beat out these games of chance. But they're games of chance, so I'm not holding my breath on that one. Not really. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. I would love to hear your opinion on this subject. Do you agree with me? Please say so. Do you not? Please go suck it. Please say so as well. I would love to hear every kind of thought on this issue and to know what I might have missed, because I would love to know reasons to like this game genre, to like this game, to not be so down and so judgmental of these games. I would love to know why, because then there would be less negativity in my life, and that is always good. So if you've got that, bring it on. I would love to hear it.